think this is a good note for everybody out there.
He says that I don't pull well on TikTok, so
He doesn't. It's just a
with
fact.
me.
It just doesn't pull well. It's called social media for a reason, and it's not selfish media.
I just gotta clear something up. You weren't the 12th man on the field.
There is no easy way to get anything ever.
This is Mornings with Matt, the Deering Acting Studio Podcast, where we discuss the connection between life and acting.
Alrighty, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Mornings with Matt on the Deering Acting Studio Podcast. I'm Matthew Deering here with Joey Sweeney this morning. I feel like we should really change the show to be named Mornings with Matt and Joey and sometimes Brian. That would be a really good name for the show, I think. So
Yeah. I think it's a little less catchy, but I like the thought process.
but it's
there,
hilarious.
Yeah.
Mornings with Matt and Joey and sometimes Brian.
And sometimes Brian. Yep.
All right, so this week we're going to be talking about thoughts. We are going into a 3-part series, 3 weeks in a row. We're going to talk about thoughts, feelings, actions. So we're going to spend an entire week on thoughts. We could probably spend a whole month on thoughts or an entire year on thoughts because they are so important. Just thoughts are almost everything. Everything starts from thoughts. So as we dig in here, we're going to start with a proverb from the Bible for our morning
Daily devotional.
Thank you,
Yeah,
daily devotional.
there you go.
And I haven't decided yet, Joey, but we might take this proverb and expand upon it every day. Because it's interesting. A lot of people quote from this verse here when they're talking about motivation and thought life and stuff. So we're going to get right to the part that everybody talks about. Yep, there it is. I see it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm fixing the buzz, guys.
It went away, but then it will come back, and then it will go away, and then it will come back. All right, here we go. So we got Proverbs 23:7. For as he thinks in his heart, so he is. That's it.
For as he thinks in his heart, so he is. I like that.
For as he thinks in his heart, so he is.
But we don't think from our heart, right? We think from our brain. Not.
Yeah. So it's really this comes thoughts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the context of the verse, and we're gonna maybe dive into this more and more throughout the week, depending if we decide to do new verses or just kind of expand upon this one. But the context of the verse is you're sitting down with a rich guy, and the rich guy's put a bunch of food out, food and drinks, and he says, "Eat, help yourself, eat as much as you want, like go ahead, eat anything you want." And his words are saying, help yourself. But his thoughts are saying, you better not eat the good stuff. You better watch what you eat, pal.
Dang.
Now the question is, do you listen to the guy's words or do you listen to his thoughts? Do you listen to what's coming from his heart?
Probably that one, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's dangerous to just listen to somebody's words.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're experiencing this in the world today with particular politicians who say one thing and they do another thing.
Yeah. I remember at the beginning of like the election stuff, it was interesting because you were like, you know, it used to be something you didn't care about as much, and then you were like, well, I don't. I'm kind of embarrassed at the fact that for so many years we were like, yeah, they're politicians. They don't do what they say they'll do. We all know that. Like, it's an unspoken rule.
Right.
And then now that bothers you.
It does.
And a lot of people.
It does bother me. And it will bother. I mean, maybe it bothers people as they mature. I'm not sure, or as they're more affected, or whatever. Or you have to hit what some people call the precipice. So you hit a wall where it's like, okay, now all of a sudden it's like we can't go further than this, or it's going to get real bad. So I was looking the other way for long enough until all of a sudden it's like, whoa, wait a minute, this could get out of control. But you're right. Like, why would we ever allow our leaders to say one thing and do another? That's such a huge mistake.
Yeah.
Why would we ever think that that's a good idea? That we just look the other way and we're like, oh yeah, politicians, they're crooked.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I was watching Newsies with my kids the other day, and it's right there in the song about crooked politicians. Like it was like they were talking about what in the song they're talking about what makes a good headline, and they're like, how about a crooked politician? And then the guy's like, hey dummy. You're like, no, like that happens all the time. Like that's
no, that happens all the time.
Yeah. So it's not, in other words, it's not a news headline because of course they're crooked.
Yeah.
So that means this has been going on. It was already going on for so long that it wasn't a headline back when kids were on the streets selling newspapers for a penny a pape. Wow.
Dang.
Have we looked the other way for a long time?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's time. It's time we hold people accountable, and what you say, you should mean. And when you don't, you got to be careful. And people need to start listening to the heart of somebody, not listening to what the words, say, or how because words can be also manipulated so easily.
Yeah.
And
there's certain people that are very good at being fake.
Yeah. Totally.
Very good at pretending to be your friend or pretending to be on your side until, they were against you the whole time.
That's right.
That's
right. And then when you go back, what's curious is you then start seeing and realizing, oh, I knew it the whole time.
Yeah.
I knew it. I saw the signs and I ignored it.
I saw the signs.
That's right. So in this context, it's very interesting, right? It's like, okay, you follow what the guy really is feeling and what he is, like what he means, right? For so he thinks, so shall he be. So the truth is actually starting from the thought life. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And this is where all motivational, books and seminars kind of begin with. I've actually read this book called As a Man Thinketh, Joey. I highly recommend you read this. It's a classic. I've read that book probably 7 times.
As a Man Thinketh?
As a Man Thinketh. It's a short book. It's a classic. It's just very, very basic, but so clear on this idea of what you think you become. What you focus on, what you think about, it will become your reality. It just will be.
Yeah.
And you can, and I can, and just about everybody out there can think about their own lives and realize, wow, yeah, the things I really, really thought about and put attention to and was focused on and was obsessed over, they have become true. Whatever those things are.
Yeah.
And that's why, even with Brian or whoever else, and with all of us, we need to safeguard our thoughts, and we're going to talk about that today as well.
Yeah.
All right. So moving forward here, I want to talk about how powerful thoughts are. Thoughts are powerful, and they're powerful in every direction. So they're powerful in the positive, and they're powerful in the negative.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Right?
Yep.
And so you can think your way into cancer. You can think your way into illness. And I'm not saying everybody who has cancer, whoever's gotten cancer, I'm not saying that. I understand that illness comes to people. I get that. But you can actually think yourself into a stupor that gets you to eat differently, think differently, become docile, like change everything about yourself and literally make yourself sick. Mm-hmm. It's one of the things I've been most worried about throughout this pandemic has been not the virus. And I'm sorry to all those people who are super scared of the virus. I understand and I get it that's been pushed upon all of us. But if you really think about it and you really look at the numbers, what I was saying from day one has come true. There's a scary statistic out there that 40% increase in teenage suicide is a reality since the pandemic.
Yeah.
That diabetes is up, obesity is up, suicidal thoughts in general are up. Mm-hmm. People need purpose. They need a purpose.
Yeah.
So to encourage people to stay home and to give people checks is a scary goal.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
Yeah.
And we really got to start taking a hard look and going, okay, where are our thoughts and what are we doing, and making sure that we are staying in a positive, energetic place and understanding that we have a responsibility to make sure that we are spreading light and love. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think one of my biggest whoa moments during this whole
Whoa.
thing, yeah, like a whoa moment was, I'm grateful and thankful because I've had this place to do stuff, right? But there was one day where I just wanted to go play some basketball.
Yeah.
And the troop was with me, and we went to both of the parks in our 5-mile radius, and they took down the rim.
Are you serious?
So people can't play basketball.
Wow.
Because of COVID.
Wow.
And I'm like, man, really? Like, cause the people who don't have a basketball court in their backyard, like the teenagers, kids, whoever, you can't just tell them to sit inside all day. Like, it's not good. Like, and of all the things that you could go do, basketball is a pretty safe thing.
Yeah.
Like, you go outside, especially if you're playing by yourself, which I used to do all the time. Just go
Right.
shoot for like 30 minutes. It's a good workout, and it gets you outside, breathing the air, and it just so stonewalled me because I was like, why?
Yeah.
Like, of all the things, you take away the public park, the one place people could go to go blow off some steam and get some fresh air and exercise. That was just scary to me because I was like, man, if I was a kid without a basketball hoop, I'd be pretty upset. I would be inside then.
So, so this is a really, really good segue into the power of thoughts. So if anybody understands the effects of drugs and different types of drugs, marijuana in particular is a drug that you can smoke. And if you take marijuana, it's supposed to make you feel sort of super relaxed, right, Joey? Mm-hmm. Like, that's kind of its goal. And it can be used for medical purposes, which it can be very positive. It can be used as a gateway drug to other drugs, which can be very negative. But you can smoke marijuana and it can make you relaxed. Now, here's what's crazy, okay? Because the same thing can happen when you smoke a cigarette. You smoke a cigarette and it can relax you if you're used to cigarettes.
Sure.
Okay, so Tony Robbins used to say, take a Tony Robbins smoke break, which means you go outside without a cigarette and you just and what are you actually doing when you're smoking a cigarette? You're taking big, deep breaths.
Yeah.
So if you just do it without the smoke, it could have the same effect, but even more positive. Mm-hmm. Okay. So then I could do the same thing if I wanted to get totally relaxed, and I was like, and do it, pretend, right? And you can literally get yourself in that state. Like, you can think about it.
Yeah.
Okay. I bring this up because you said I've never seen a court where they purposely took down the hoops. I mean, you guys are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Bad idea.
Yeah.
And shame on you for doing that. But think about this, Joey. They say that the best work you can do as an athlete is in your mind. You win the game before you play it. Mm-hmm. You actually have to visualize yourself with the perfect form, visualize yourself making the hoop. I wonder, I had this thought where I was like, holy crap, how good of an exercise would it be? And how hard would it be? But to get a really good workout, passing an imaginary ball, playing full court without rims. And you have to follow the ball. You have to really pay attention. You got to really believe.
Yeah.
You know, and then do that yourself, like draining sweat, right? And then all of a sudden it's like boom, boom, and you're fading, and you're like, and it's like perfect form, and you're focused on it, and you watch it go in. They say by spending time, if you already have the skills, that spending, let's say, an hour meditating and visualizing yourself making the baskets and winning the game will make you more likely to win the game than an extra hour of practice on the court.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there have been studies that have proven this to be true, that people's like stats go up like dramatically. So the question is, like, before and after practice, have you ever stopped and meditated and watched yourself make shots, watched yourself get better form, watched yourself become like a pro in certain ways? And
Definitely not.
Definitely not. And I have a few times, but to do it consistently, to do it like without fail, and then because I love experimenting. You experiment on the results and go, wow, how powerful is my mind? What can I actually do?
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like here's the other thing. Like when you believe you can beat somebody, you tend to find a way to win or to really compete at a high level.
Yeah.
When you don't think you can beat them, even when you're better, you lose.
Yeah.
That's what happens. It's the dad effect. If I'm convinced my dad's better than me, and this happened to me for years, I was better than my dad for years. And we get down to, like, you know, we played at 21, it'd be like, I'd be winning like 19-11. And then I just couldn't make the last baskets. Like I had a mental block, and he'd come back and he'd win for years.
Dang.
And I remember the time I beat him, and my dad actually said to me, you could have beat me for years.
Dang.
He knew it. And he held on to the win. He held on to the advantage for as long as he could.
Yeah.
That's my dad. He's competitive.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I definitely believe in that, and I've seen that for myself. It's funny, I was talking to Astrid and I think Saya about this when they were rehearsing one day. But Astrid said that exact thing. She was like, well, that's why you always win here, is because you always think you're going to win.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, yeah, of course I always think I'm going to win.
Well, but not everybody
You know?
does. As you think, so
And-
shall you be. Joey.
Yeah, so I didn't used to think that way, but now, you know, I've trained with you, I've practiced, like I feel more confident in my skills. I know what I'm good at, I know what I'm bad at, I know what to try to prevent. So I don't get scared of somebody bigger than me or somebody smaller than me with more skills. Instead, I look at it and I go, well, I can win this. You know?
Yeah.
And then believe that till the end. And sometimes I lose, but most of the time I come out on top because the whole time I'm thinking, yeah, I got this in the bag.
Yeah.
You know?
So then think to yourself, okay, how do we apply this all over the place? And that's where you start winning in every area of life. And you think to yourself, okay, why am I not winning on YouTube?
Yeah.
Why am I not winning with, I don't know, enrollments? Why am I not winning in sales at my job? Why am I not winning in my relationships? Like, why am I not winning? What thoughts have I embedded in there that are present that I got to go, whoa, I got to change that. All right, so before we go to break, I'm going to go to this quote here. This is from the Buddha. You know I love to quote the Buddha. He says, nothing can harm you as much as your own thoughts unguarded. Nothing can harm you as much as your own thoughts unguarded. So we're going to talk about that when we get back, and we are also going to then jump into our takeaway for the day, and we're going to be talking about thoughts all week. You're not going to want to miss the next 3 weeks of this show, because we're going to be talking about thoughts, feelings, actions, and if you take what we're saying and you apply the next 3 weeks worth of work in your own life, it will be guaranteed life altering. We'll see you right after the break.
My experience with Phoenix casting has been pretty much legit. Like ever since I started like modeling and acting, I've been coming here.
If you're an actor in Arizona, you need to know about the Daring Acting Studio, and you need to get here. They'll make you feel like you belong.
Where there's a will, there's a way. So I think it's great that you guys are continuing to innovate, not just resting back and saying, oh, this is just the way it is. And these days, because of virtual casting, some of these big projects that are on either coastline, now a lot of actors have the opportunities to at least submit.
It was so uplifting and encouraging, and it's such a refreshing sense to get as an actor, to be uplifted and encouraged and taught to do that to everybody that you're in a scene with.
We always recommend Daring Acting Studios just because we know how important it is to hone your skills and hone your talent and always be practicing. And it's like a sport, you know, you have to go in and practice. You can't just jump into something and think you're going to be a star. So
what I learned about during this workshop is to be yourself and not to be afraid to be yourself and be authentic.
And that's one thing I gotta say about you guys, is you guys have been amazing. When our team submits, you know, it's like you guys give us really a great selection at audition. And so I think that's great, and I appreciate the opportunities you give our talent.
Do yourself a favor, come down to Daring to Phoenix Casting. You won't regret it. These guys are great. So accommodating. It's a fun, lively, always a great time. So no stress, come down and knock it out of the park. Thanks guys, I appreciate it.
Your lives will all be changed and you'll grow if you really learn to listen in this way.
Will you help me kill her?
You have to react to that from his point of view as honestly as possible.
Punch him in the face. No, you don't know nothing. Come on.
As soon as you've solved the puzzle, the scene's over.
Hey!
All right, we ended before the break on a little Buddha quote. Went like this.
Buddha!
Buddha!
Buddha! He's such a smart guy, that Buddha.
Nothing can harm you as much as your own thoughts unguarded. Nothing can harm you as much as your own thoughts unguarded.
Ooh, let me try. Nothing can harm you as much as your own thoughts unguarded.
That was good.
Yeah.
Buddha.
I just put those words
Buddha.
in bold, you
Yeah.
know, that you emphasize.
Mhm.
Thought that was a good point there.
You put the emphasis on the right syllable.
Syllable, yeah.
So, what does this call us to do? We must be guardians of our own mind.
We must guard our own thoughts.
That's why we call ourselves here the Guardians.
Yeah.
It's right on our website.
Mm-hmm.
This is us, and the description is we are the Guardians.
It took a really long time to come up with that name also.
We're the Guardians of this studio.
I think I came up with it and everybody hated it at first.
I didn't. I didn't hate it.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
You did come up with it.
Well,
I liked it immediately. Shay didn't like it, and Brian didn't like it.
Oh, there you go. So there was a divide amongst our team.
That's right.
But the Matt and Joey show with sometimes Brian were on board for the Guardians.
The Matt and Joey part of the show.
Yeah.
But sometimes Brian was on the fence.
Yeah.
Shay was anti.
But we swung them. We swung them around, and we claim the name Guardians.
Well, because we had to pull it aside away from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, because we're not.
Because Guardians of the Galaxy is a cute movie. It's good. It's got some great points in it, of course. But to take the idea of what is a guardian, like to be a guardian, it's like you're an angel whose job is to protect, to fight off evil, to fight off negativity in this case.
Yes, sir.
So we must first be guardians of our own minds. We must be guardians of our thoughts. If you don't have something inside of you standing guard, deciding what goes in and what comes out of your mind, then you just let loose. It's like you open the gates. It's like you open the border and just let everybody in. Not a good idea. Somebody should tell Biden about being the guardian of the United States.
Oh man, we getting a little
No,
touchy.
we're not. No, we're not getting touchy. We're getting obvious. This is like no-brainer stuff. Okay? There's nothing
Sure.
there's nothing touchy or controversial about what I'm saying. We must be guardians. That's what it means. We must be guardians. We want to take stock of what comes in. If you don't check what's coming in, anything could come in.
Sure. Yeah,
And-
it kind of goes back to last week we talked about taking inventory.
That's right. So now it's like if you're not taking, okay, so let's talk about inventory, right? I'm taking inventory, but I'm not looking at what's coming in the stock room. And I just let anybody, any truck of any kind, fill up my stock room.
Yeah.
Okay, which is essentially a storage unit. Okay, so let's just pretend it's a grocery store, and I don't even pay attention. So sometimes it's just like loads from Goodwill. Sometimes it's loads from that should have gone to the waste management department. It's literally just garbage. Sometimes it's random magazines and newspapers. Sometimes it's human beings, like whatever. And it's like a full. And then I go in there and it's like there's all this junk in here that doesn't belong in the grocery store, and I got to find a can of beans.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just made my job exponentially harder because I let in all this stuff, all these deliveries, and I didn't have someone checking at the gate going, "Oh no, like that can't be in here. You know, this is for food only."
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Or this stuff belongs in the freezer. So only stuff that goes in the freezer goes in there.
Yeah, because if it doesn't, then it goes bad.
That's right.
And then you wasted all that money.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And if you put everything in the freezer, even if that means it would stay longer or whatever, but it doesn't need to be in the freezer. What did you just do? You filled the freezer, and now you don't have enough room for stuff that really needs to be in the freezer.
Yeah.
So you got to be a guardian of your own mind. That's the first thing. Second thing is you want to be a guardian of your own space.
Ooh, I like that one.
Thank you. And your space is going to be the space that you occupy. So again, it could be your car, could be the room you're sitting in, could be your workplace, could be the sidewalk as you're walking. I mean, literally, like the world around you, you want to guard. You want to be guardian of that, which means you need to be aware. You got to stay like present and aware. And if things are becoming cluttery, if you've let things into your environment, then you need to think about how you can get yourself out of that. We are a product of our environment, but our environment is a product of our thoughts.
Facts.
So how you feel about yourself, how you think about who you are and should be, will determine what your environment looks like.
That was a mic drop explosion. Yeah.
And then what happens is you become a guardian of your own mind. So first of all, you only let the good stuff in. So this morning, I guarded my mind.
Yeah.
I made the really hard choice when the early alarm went off. It was especially hard this morning for whatever reason to get up. That was the first choice. And I did it, and I'm very proud of that. Every time you get up, it's a win. You won. Your mind won, because you never want to get out of bed. If you've set your alarm for a time that is before you have to get up, which I recommend you do, then your very first decision is to get up, and you win. You beat the procrastination. So even if you get up at 4, but you have to get up at 4 because you work at 4:45, I suggest then to get up at 3:30. Like get up before you have to, so that you can make the decision to get up to win the day. Mm-hmm. Then you beat procrastination,
and you give yourself an ample amount of time to do things in the morning.
You just and you feel like a winner, right?
Yeah, yeah. But if you get up at let's say you're this guy and you have to be at work at 4:45. Well, what's the difference between getting up at 3:30 and 4 o'clock maybe? Well, let's say you get up at 4 o'clock, you get in the shower, your work's 20 minutes away, right? You might not take the time to put your clothes back in the hamper, or to put the bathroom back the way it needs to be, or it was before you used it, right?
Right.
You get up at 3:30, those things you have plenty of time for, and then you come back home and you feel good about where you're going home and where you're at.
And then what happens, Joey, is then you're right. But then the clothes are in the hamper. Mm-hmm. Now those things are now done the next day because you got up early. Then you get up early again and you go, why am I getting up?
Yeah.
Then you have to ask yourself that question, why am I getting up? So then what do you do at the time? Maybe you do some push-ups. Maybe you listen to the Bible.
Yeah.
Read the Bible. Maybe you connect into some kind of meditation. You start doing some things that are good for yourself. And then all of a sudden you don't have excuses anymore. The excuses go away.
Yep.
So you guard your own mind. But by putting in positivity, then when things happen, which life does happen, your thought life completely changes the way that you look at certain things.
Yep.
So if I were late this morning, if I were running through the house late and I had woken up late and I hadn't put positivity into my mind, but I put negativity in instead, here's what happened this morning. Right as I was about to leave, it was about it wasn't quite 5 o'clock. It was like 4:45, something like that. And I'm about to walk out the door, and I hear crying. It's my 2-year-old. He's had a night tremor. He's had a bad dream. And I'm filling up ice from my cup, and I'm trying to hurry because I want to go get him. That's the positive thought hitting me, is like, I want to rescue him.
Yeah.
Not like, ooh.
Let me get out of the house.
Right.
So that my wife has to deal with it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then my wife starts walking out, and I see her, and I go, I got him. I'll bring him to you. And so she just like turns around and goes back to bed. And
she's like, I will not fight you on that.
And not at all.
Meet you in the bedroom.
But I picked him up, and I'm shushing him, and he's crying hard because he had a bad dream.
Yeah.
And then I get him settled, and I'm rocking him in the chair, and he settles in on me, and like, oh, it was so good. It was so nice. Like, I gifted myself with that moment. It was 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I did this, and I put him down, and I said, you get to lay in mommy and daddy's bed. You want to do that? He's like, oh. I put him down, and then I just look at him and I say, hey, daddy loves you. I love you so much, okay? And he goes, okay.
Okay.
And I give him a kiss, and then I go over to Leanne, and I'm like, and daddy loves mommy so much. And I give Leanne a kiss, and I go, okay? And he goes, okay. And then I kiss Leanne again, and then I see him go like this, and he turns, and he wanted another kiss. He wanted another kiss on the forehead. And I'm like, that's what positivity looks like. Versus if I'm in a negative state, people can feel it. Mm-hmm. And my wife could get up, she could look at me, and I could look at her back, and then she could pick up on my negativity, and it could be my fault, because people's negativity is a lot of times a reflection of your own. Mm-hmm. And then Leanne could be like, really? You're not going to get the baby? Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? And she would never say that, but she could.
Yeah.
You know, or she could think it.
Well, and especially kids, you know, if you think that your littlest especially, just because they can't talk doesn't mean they can't feel.
Right.
In fact, it tends to be exactly the opposite. They feel more because they can't talk.
Right.
So they are highly receptive to whatever energy state you are in, which makes it all the more important to make sure that you're doing things in a positive state for them, loving them, making them feel cared for. Because if you don't, they feel it. And then they're like, you know, they
turn into crappy kids.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
It's a roller coaster in that way. Okay. I hate roller coasters.
Do you?
I have ridden a couple to break the fear, but I still don't like them. Yeah.
I used to love roller coasters, and then the more I would get sort of dizzy from it, then I stopped. Like here's the thing: if you don't feel good afterward, of course you're gonna dislike it.
Exactly.
If it's a fear thing, that's one thing. But if it's a because like I could tell you, the reason I would go, and I know you wouldn't, but the reason I would go skydiving again is it doesn't give me a dizzy feeling.
Sure. Yeah.
It's a free fall. You literally feel weightless. You feel like you're flying. It's very cool. It's fun. I would do it again.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it daily. Like, it's not a dream of mine to be a skydiver in general, but just to do that again, and because Brian wants to do it, I'd be happy to do it with him.
Yeah.
But to go on the teacups, I'm much more afraid of the teacups than I am skydiving.
Sure.
Because the teacups, I know the end result is I want to throw up and I'm going to have a headache for like an hour. Like, why would I do that to myself?
That's exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just not stupid at amusement parks.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I have motion sickness.
Right. And
So
not everybody does.
There's a lot of things that I can have fun with here. These 5 rides, I'm not doing.
Right.
Because I'm going to feel that.
You can go get signatures from Mickey, you know?
Yeah. You know?
Hey, Joey.
Hey.
Come on over here.
I will tell you.
I'll sign your book.
I did Space Mountain the last time I went to Disneyland
Oh, wow.
on my
How
senior
brave.
trip.
You're brave, Joey.
Yeah, I was very scared. Because, again, roller coaster.
And then Mickey comes up to you and goes,
Hey, Joey, give me a high five. You did it. All right. Way to go, pal.
Yeah, that's exactly how I remember it. It's like you were there. That's crazy.
I'm always there.
Oh, yeah. But no, it was cool because I did it with one of my best friends from choir at the time. And he was like, yeah, just do it, man. Like, I promise it's not that bad. It is in the dark, but it's actually a small roller coaster on the inside. You just wouldn't know it because
Sure.
you can't see it. And then I did it, and I was like, oh, dang, that wasn't that bad. You know, I didn't get crazy motion sickness from that one.
right.
You know, so
Well,
it's all about knowing.
And then that one you could repeat. Mm-hmm. So because I have found also some of the more intense rides actually give you less motion sickness. If you're going faster and you get to that zero gravity feel,
yeah,
it actually makes you less sick than like teacups, where it's like you feel it, like, you know what I mean? Like my son could get totally sick because he gained our motion sickness, so he can get sick in the back of the car.
Yeah.
And he can be like, oh, I don't feel good, you know, and that used to be me all the time. So I totally sympathize with him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, like he could do that and get sick, and he could go on Space Mountain and not get sick and not feel sick because of how fast you're going and the changes and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
100p.
interesting. Comes back to experimentation. All right, so we're gonna end this thing with a takeaway, Joey.
All right.
I got a quote from Willie Nelson.
Willie Nelson.
It ain't Willie Nelson music. He says, once you replace negative thoughts with positive ones, you'll start having positive results. Boom. So here's our takeaway. What are you thinking about right now that's causing you anxiety? That's making you feel sad or stuck or worried? And how can you turn those into positive thoughts? How can you flip it on yourself? Mm-hmm. Joey, you hit this, I think, yesterday so Joey's experimenting right now with food and the types of food he eats and energy. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
And you called me and you were like, I feel tired, like so tired, and like that. And I just said to you, like, don't assume one thing. Don't let yourself don't let yourself go negative thoughts, and instead get curious, find the knowledge for yourself, but you got to want it. Mm-hmm. Then I walk into the show this morning and you're literally watching a video on food, nutrition, and energy and taking notes. Mm-hmm. And I see that and I'm like, that's somebody who has a chance to do something extraordinary in the area of nutrition. If you become a student of it and you get curious of it and you experiment with you're turning something that could have been a negative thought into a positive thought and going, that killed my energy. I wonder why. Let me ask the question. How could I get more energy? How could I be positive? Then you're thinking about a positive thought, which is like, How can I gain more energy?
Yeah.
How can I not be tired in the day?
Yeah. And it's for me, it kind of goes back to that whole idea of experimentation in general.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the way I looked at it was, I am low energy, I'm tired, and I actually this time around didn't just break it and then call you and be like, I broke it.
Right.
I just told you, and you didn't answer the first time, which made it even more of a temptation to break it, and
Sure.
I still didn't.
Sure.
But I was like, yo, I'm low energy, and you told me this thing in research, and I was like, all right, cool. And I realized, number one, I've never looked into these diets that we do together for myself. I just, you list off the things I can have, and I'm like, cool, bet, I got it.
Right.
You know, and I think that's part of why I haven't been successful in it every time, because I didn't have any personal, like, skin in the game.
That's right.
If you will, right?
Yeah.
And then number two is, in reading all that stuff, I'm like, okay, well, I'm reading all these articles, and every single one of them says within 7 days to 3 weeks, you feel this extreme amount of energy. And I'm like, all right, well, it's not BS. Like, I'm doing something wrong because I should feel that.
Yeah.
You know? And so and we could tell ourselves the story that, this just doesn't work for me. Well, that's not true, because it works for everybody that's tried it successfully.
Right.
So you're just doing it wrong.
Boom.
And that's what I was telling myself.
Yeah.
And that's the difference, is now I'm excited to open up and figure out what way works for me, what way I can be in that next level health. But it's all about understanding that you can't make an excuse for yourself.
Right. Let's take these two thoughts, okay? And you can be honest about the fact that you've had the negative thought before.
Mm-hmm.
The one thought is, how can I have the same energy all these other people have?
Yeah.
What am I doing wrong, and how can I change that so that I can have all this energy without it being negative on my life?
Yeah.
Okay. How can I do it? Versus, this doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
This thing doesn't work for me. I'm not cut out for this thing. I'm low energy. When I do this, I get low energy. It doesn't work for me. Mm-hmm. Those two different thoughts, one of them is a positive, the other one's negative, but you're actually thinking about the exact same thing. But your results are going to be completely different.
Yeah.
21 days from now.
Yeah, exactly.
If you hold on to one thought versus the other thought.
Mm-hmm.
And at minimum, at an absolute minimum, you are going to gain the most valuable thing a human being can gain, which is knowledge.
Yeah.
That's the worst case scenario, is nothing works and you learn what doesn't work.
Yeah.
That's so valuable.
100p. Yeah. I'm just going to share this really quick because I think it's a cool representation of that. But I texted you yesterday after we had talked, and I said, it makes way more sense now. Of course you feel better, laughy face. I've been consistently running on sugar without breaks for a lot longer than you because you fasted in the last 3 months. You've done the 5-day fast, and
Sure.
yes, you've had sugar with me and whatever, but you've also come off it. You've done that mental, like, all right, let me step back, no sugar, then I'll come back to it, slowly work it back in, right? I haven't done that. I drank a lot of sugar drinks. I ate a lot of sugar products, like I didn't really track that one way or the other. And that was one thing it said. It says, that's why it's 7 to 30 days. It depends on what your sugar intake was before.
Yeah.
Was in this video. And I was like, well, duh. Like the people I'm comparing myself to, of course, Matt feels great because Matt's cut out sugar recently.
Yeah.
I haven't cut out sugar recently. So it's going to take a much longer time for me to feel better because my body's like, where my sugar at, dog?
Yeah. And I would just say to you, probably you're right. But we don't know.
Yeah.
That's what's cool, right? Because you could get to the place where you could end up going like, oh, it was this one thing, and actually I could have felt it faster than you because I'm younger than you and I got a faster metabolism.
Yeah.
Could be.
Could be.
And I'm not saying it is one way or the other, period. I'm just loving the fact that you're curious.
Mm-hmm.
That's just, we talk about there are winners and there are losers, and I've told you before, you there's a winner mentality, and I want it for you so badly.
Yeah.
I want it for me, and I want to surround myself with winners.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean people that win. It means people that believe they can win, and people that focus on winning, on positivity, not focus on the negativity.
Yeah.
Because we know where that leads. It's a guarantee where it's going to go. And then if you surround yourself with enough of those people, it's really hard to stay out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, I feel like, surround themselves with negative people, surround themselves with things that are going to create repeat behavior, and then they try to pull themselves just outside the group so that they can feel better than the group.
Yeah.
So they can always feel superior, they can always feel like they're doing a good job, and they're not challenging themselves instead of trying to find a new group.
Yep.
Instead of trying to elevate and get to a new place in life where it's like, okay, this is going to be a challenge. You know, that's the thing about environments too. You're like how cleanly your environment is and how like all that stuff is like definitely it has to do with your thought life, but also it's clear that we do not want to be in a necessarily a comfortable environment.
Yeah.
Like we do want to challenge ourselves in such a way that we can grow. Because if you're not in a challenging environment, then nothing new is going to come.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get to develop and grow.
Facts.
All right, we're going to leave you guys here with this big takeaway, all right? You have the power to think positively or to think negatively about anything, about all areas of your life, every second of the day, and nobody's going to be perfect because you're not God. So don't expect that of yourself. But do understand, you do have that power, and you can continue to get better and better and better at it. So you're not going to be perfect, but you can definitely try your best, and you can see the areas where you're lacking. And you can make little choices throughout the day. Then you can reflect on it at the end of the day and look and go, where was I thinking positively? Where was I thinking negatively? And how is that affecting my life? And where do I want to be?
Yeah.
Like, who do I want to become? And am I thinking in a way that's going to get me to where I want to go?
Juicy.
All right. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. This has been the Mornings with Matt show on the Deering Acting Studio podcast. Please do not forget to like, subscribe, share, help us spread this light-driven content to the planet. God bless.
Thanks for listening to Mornings with Matt. Please like, subscribe, and follow us at Deering Acting Studio to keep up with the latest content. For more information on classes, private lessons, or professional development coaching, visit www.deeringstudio.com. Have a Deering day, everyone.
Have a chippy day, everyone. Rough.